Right. Hello and welcome to the Champ We Are United podcast, the football comic podcast. I'm your host. My name is Matt Mute Button Richards, and I'm here today with my co-hosts. I'll introduce them one by one. Into my top left hand corner of the screen, I can see him introduce you to Neil Bygone Berrigan. Hi, Neil. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much. Again, looking forward to today's show. It's proved to be entertaining.
I hope so. I hope so. I'm going to introduce you next to the tangential one. Yes, it's Paul Tangent Richardson. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Matt. I noticed how you swerved Bygone's 52 other nicknames that he's got. But yeah, brilliant to be back after a short break and fully refreshed and looking forward to this another what I call the special episodes. Of course, they're all special, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. No, really looking forward to this one. Yeah, can't wait. Okay, and finally, last but not least, he's back by demand. Small demand, well, back by his own demand, actually.
I was going to
Um,
say, yeah.
it's great to have you back.
Hmm.
Hello, Goal.
I've only been back 30 seconds and I'm already getting abuse. Hello, listeners. It's nice to be back after a short break. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to today's episode. And yeah, thank you. Hello.
Hello, hello, brilliant, great stuff. Okay, right, yeah. So as Paul was alluding to, this is a special episode. You would have seen it already on the title of the show. We're going to interview David Hunt, former editor at Fleetway IPC. So many publications, so we're looking forward to that. So that's going to be the main show today. But before we do that, we of course are going to do what we usually do, which is to go over the last show. So this is episode 115. The
Hurrah!
pre Hurrah for the 115th show. The last one was 114, funny enough.
No
And
way.
Your
so
maths is unbelievable. I
it's
really.
I know I'm quite clever with these sort of things. Guess what
Yeah,
next
yeah,
one will be?
it impresses me every time because I don't get it right.
So yeah, so let's go over some feedback first. And right, let's start as we normally do with the Roy the Rovers 40 years after Facebook site, and it's 49 years after. It's nearly
Mm.
50 years. So next
Yeah,
year it'll be
wow.
50 years. Isn't it? As people were
Mm.
recently sharing the fact that it was on the 25th of September. The first Roy the Rovers comic was
Yeah.
published. Anyway, on with the feedback. So first of all, we have some feedback from Keith Neville's. He says, "How many of us tore up our My Team performance poster during yet another miserable season?"
Do you know something? Actually, I didn't go back. I will have to confess to not necessarily tearing them up, but after as in modern parlance, because of fantasy football, game week 4 or 5, just having a huff and not filling it in and just shoving it in a drawer somewhere.
I don't know if my memory serves me incorrectly, but I mean, I think it had like you could put in like what position you were in the league with a dash. And
Yeah,
of course,
that's
mid
right.
80s, my team were absolutely rubbish. And for at least 3 seasons, it started off okay in the first match. And then it looked like a descent down Mount Bloody Everest. Oh,
Flatlining in position 20 or 24th.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks
I
for
think
reminding me of the dark days.
I think it was yeah, I think it's
I think
similar for me as well. Millwall got relegated in the late 70s, sorry,
Right.
and in the late 80s. We do it every decade.
Yeah.
But it was like, yeah, so I don't think I did it.
it's the same with the league ladders.
Mm.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
Started
the
off
league,
them.
yeah, we start off with them, yeah, and then they kind of fold over or bend, and
yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
get them in. And
I just put mine upside down because we were 24th.
Yeah.
well, brilliant stuff. Thanks, Keith. Thanks for
The
jogging
only
that
one I think I ever completed
memory.
was the FA Cup one.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
like
yeah,
filling the
yeah,
FA Cup one in.
Mm.
yeah.
I like
That
doing all that one.
that was best to fit in, wasn't it? Really? Yeah.
Thanks, Keith.
Cheers, Keith. Right, on to Trevor Melvin. Oh yeah, is there
Yay.
are there theme tunes today, or we can leave the theme tunes go?
Whoa, it's Melvin's musings.
Oh,
Oh,
it's great. It's great
wow.
to have that live
The
rendition.
the
Oh,
rest has done
Missed
the
it.
pipes well.
it warms the
Uh,
cockles.
oh,
Yeah, I know. Not quite sure on
okay.
that one. Moving on. Here we go from Trevor. big talking points as Champ Tower's Trinity talk the talk. Despite the fact that both the Podfather and the Tangential one were missing from the lineup, episode 114 was packed with goalmouth incidents, with Captain Mute Button Matt, Bygone Berrigan, and Golden Ian all having a big say in this enthralling encounter. Football comic book Bad Boy, Bygone Berrigan, there's lots of B's there, by the way, if you try and say it out loud, who has been shown red in the past for verbal transgressions, made a massive call early doors and decided not to employ a Steve McLaren Dutch accent during his Victor Summer Special 1991 feature. Yeah, I think you disappointed us all there. Do you want to have a go at it now? Bygone. Steve. No?
No, not really.
Okay,
Well,
pretty safe.
there was the other chap, Joey Barton did it as well, didn't he?
Oh, he did. Yeah, he did.
Joey Barton pretended he was. Yeah.
The Summer Specials lead.
I've already
picture
upset everybody
story-
in the Hamish, so I'm not going to.
Oh, yeah, you're
Sorry.
right. Yeah, let's not mention it. Oh, you mentioned it again. I'll
Mention
edit
it
out.
once, and I think he got away
I think
with
you got
it.
away with it, yeah. The Summer Specials lead picture story, The Goals of Jimmy Grant, which took us not once but twice to Rotterdam, firstly with the England national team and then Stainford City, meant that the temptation for Bygone to go full Wally with the brolly was loud and clear. However, just like Jimmy Grant, who had been kept quiet by Dutch defensive playmaker Rudy Denar, the pod's holiday specialist boxed clever and found a way to deliver the goods whilst avoiding a caution from the officials. Exactly, yeah. During Bygone's summer special team talk, Golden Ian provided an assist that completely silenced the crowd and then prompted Tons to wag furiously. The golden boy of Champ Towers, known for his meticulous attention to detail and tactical intelligence, explained the role of the number 6 within the barcode on the front cover of Bygone's Precious Edition. That's not a euphemism.
Oh yeah, memories coming flooding back now. Yeah.
Oh, the famous barcode edition.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the football comic Time Lord was unable to translate all the other characters, but it's rumored that he does intend to revisit this parallel bar world and alphanumeric phenomenon. It's easy for me to say. in a future episode. I knew I was going to struggle with that. Phenomenon. Phenomenon.
No, come on, we haven't got all day.
Okay. So watch this space, man. Because we're into the Muppets. We usually are Muppets on this show.
Exactly.
We missed out Trevor's joke. A lot of references to space there and Spaceman. So well done, Trevor.
Yeah.
Golden Ian made another big statement by scoring for the third consecutive podcast with his season-by-season review of every picture story that appeared in the Royal Rovers Weekly. Whilst Mike's Mini-Men had surprisingly topped the 77 to 78 Golden League table, the Subbuteo-inspired storyline slipped down the pecking order to second place. No budgerigars were harmed in the making of this decision. Remember budgies.
Yeah.
And the peerless were the Rovers reclaiming the bragging rights and the 78-79 Golden Ian picture story crown. Mighty Mouse squeaked into third place, just ahead of the boy who hated football, which surprisingly perhaps got the shout for a top 4 berth. As the pod entered its final stages, it was seemed that Collector's Corner was all over bar the shouting when Bygone Berrigan revealed his vociferous comic book transfer activity online and in Lord Street, Southport. Shout out to Lord Street, Southport. There'll be thousands flocking there now. It's gone viral. However, at the end of the day, it was Mute Button Matt who had the final word. A scouting mission to Kendal in the Lake District led the Mutester to uncover a mint condition Roy the Rovers annual 1960, was setting back just £2. You might say the deal was a piece of cake. Kendal mint cake.
Oh, very good.
He's
Very
here
good.
a week. A performance to keep the noisy neighbours quiet, lads. Now looking forward to the David Hunt special. Should be a scorcher.
See what he did there. See what he did there.
I know. Brilliant stuff. Superb stuff. Thanks, Trevor. Next feedback is from the Chapel United Football Picture Story Monthly Facebook site. We have some feedback from GM Norton. I don't know if that's Graham Norton. He says, and is Mark Wright Britain's top defender, competing for the crown with Richard Gough and Des Walker, maybe? I think that was on the cover, was it? The 1991. I don't know. I think they never actually mentioned, you said, Neil, didn't they? They never mentioned who was.
No, they never. They just discussed them. I don't
I
think
think
they'll
it's
make
just
a
a
big decision,
rhetorical
would they?
kind of question, yeah.
Yeah.
Then we have George Prince saying, again, really enjoying Ian Golden's year-by-year review of Roy the Rovers. Great job. Always a pleasure listening to the podcast. By the way, what happened to that great theme tune you used to play? Always made me smile. So that did confuse me for a bit, and there was a bit of to and fro, and I think for me and you, Gull, I think it meant that going back before we got the theme tune from Tim Skew, so we used to have that incidental music from Spotify. So yeah,
I thought it was the fact that you don't have the theme tune on the YouTube versions.
well, no, because he said that we never played it on the YouTube versions, so maybe I don't know. Anyway, we've never had it on
Something
the
about his
YouTube
own
ones.
theme tunes that
Yeah.
we've done for him in the past.
Oh yeah, maybe no, it wasn't. No, I
no?
checked that. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Prince Chime in. Prince Chime in.
Mhm.
I don't really know what's going on, to be honest. I'm still on episode 104.
Well, I tell you what, you're doing better than I thought. I didn't think you were in the hundreds yet.
And from Adrian Lord, he says halfway through this,
Hey.
but enjoyable as always. House of Lord. Do we get a House of Lord
Yeah, come on.
post?
Everybody in the House of Lord. Everybody in the House of Lord. One house.
house,
One
one
Lord.
Lord.
Everybody is a friend of the show.
Yeah, good one. Good one. Friend of the show, but Adrian says halfway through this, it doesn't actually mention if you finished it. So we'd like to know, Adrian, can you confirm? Did you get to the end or did you just give up?
The jury is out, according to the House of Lord.
Really rubbish or something then.
Yeah, maybe. And
He was
finally,
outraged at Mike's mini men dropping down the voting list from Ian Golden.
deleted
He's
the podcast,
like his
unfollowed.
team's performance, he turned the pod off and turned away in disgust.
It was mic drop, whatever that is. And finally, we finish on YouTube. Our great friend, Nikos says, "Great having one more." Thank you very much, Nikos. Shout out to you. And finally, he's always, I say bringing up the rear, but I'm not going to go there. We always have Aussie Lee as the last piece of feedback on YouTube. He says, "A real summer specials from Victor. A message to Rudy, indeed. Great to see Bygone covering another comic I don't remember seeing down under, especially the summer specials. Probably because it was our winter when these came out." Exactly. Imagine they're off to a caravan holiday, Southport.
Do you know something? I'm doing like the covers of the Football Picture Story monthlies. I've noticed on some of the later editions where the price has changed, it's literally a white sticky label over it with then the new price over the old price. So suddenly I just had this vision of like a white label stuck over the summer with somebody handwriting winter for the Australian editions.
It's 80p. When it changed the price to 80p, 80p sticker.
Yeah.
And you got Billy Dane going down to Bondi Beach or something like that and losing these boots in
oh
the
my God, what if a
sand.
shark took
What a
Billy's
shark.
boots? How would he get them back? Now
That's
that's a missed story.
It's a real jumping shark moment as well.
How many Jaws movies were there?
There's a plethora
Jaws
of
5.
news stories.
He dares to take Billy Dane's boots.
They missed out on that essential
That
Australian
kangaroo's
market.
put my boot in his pocket. I didn't realise they put a little Joey on my foot.
They could have had a crossover with Skippy as well, couldn't they?
Yeah.
What's that, Skip?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's got Deadshot Keen's boots. Oh dear.
The boots are down a well.
Anyway, sorry, Lee. Coming back to it. Yeah, enjoyed Ian's latest season coverage of the Rovers. It was still before I was reading the comics, so good to see some of the old strips and the history of the storylines. Many I haven't even heard of. I couldn't believe seeing the South Australian Hermits featuring in the Hard Man. I supported them growing up. Chips was the right hard bastard. Looking forward to having the full. Pardon?
Swear jar 50p.
Yeah. 50 cents, please. Lee, through the post, please. Looking forward to having the full team back on deck. I might be one of those 2 members of the Gold Fan Club. Bring back the big man soon. Oh, cheers. Look at
how much did you pay? What was the size of the check you put in the post to Australia there, Gold?
Well, I have to try and gather fans while I've been away.
You've got world fans all over the world. Exactly. That's what you got.
Thank you. Aussie Lee, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I've got a fan from a land down under.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. Yeah, so that's it. So that's the social media feedback from episode 114.
Lovely.
So, guys, it's time now to. He's in the green room. I think. I think Dot's made him a cup of tea,
Let's hope so.
and so we're gonna bring him in from the green room, and then we can say after the break we're gonna introduce you to David Hunt. And we're back. Okay, and he's here. Our special guest is here. So I'll give an introduction. So this gentleman started life at Fleetway in 1961, way back in 1961. He did various roles there and then became editor of Scorcher in 1970. And he's edited a lot more publications after that, including Battle, Speed, The New Eagle, Hot Shot, and of course, towards the end of the weekly production of Roy the Rovers. It's a great honour to welcome to the podcast David Hunt. Hi, David.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Well, David, it's great to have you on. We've got so much to go through. We could keep you here for hours, but we're not going to. We promise that. So it'll be a bit of a potted history through your career within the kind of comic industry. So let's start way back at the beginning. I mentioned 1961 Fleetway. So do you want to kind of just give us some of your memories of those days and joining Fleetway? How did that happen?
Yeah, well, okay. Nice to meet you all. I started in 61, as you say, but my love for comics really started as a sort of doing a newspaper round, because I was fortunate enough to be able to devour all the comics in one go without actually paying for them. And my joy was really, I must admit, in the late 50s, early 50s, whatever, was the DC Thompson titles. And I loved things like Rover and Hotspur and so forth, because I like the tech story. I like that idea, with the single illustration, as it were.
Yeah.
So I had a very, very good friend. I mean, I was lucky enough to pass the 11 plus, so we went to the grammar school, and him and he was a couple of years older than me, a guy called Peter Stewart, who was editor of Shoot magazine eventually.
All right.
And him and I we created a Subbuteo league, the tabletop football game.
Yeah. We all know it. Yeah.
And I was much better than him. He's not here to argue that point.
It's good that you got that in. Yeah.
But we'd write up reports about the games we'd played.
Yes.
And Roy Race was very much a part of that. But he played for Melchester Rovers. I was the manager of Melchester Rovers. Roy Race was my number one striker.
Oh wow!
And it already started from that. These books, I've still got them in the sort of loft, in a loft somewhere, and they make for interesting reading, because we'd put the sort of newspaper photographs at the time to accompany the copy we'd written, when I look back, it's quite pleasant and pleasurable to see them,
So you almost were creating a comic yourself. Those early days.
No real intention of thinking about working in comics at that time. It was just something we did as two young lads, who enjoyed football, and just wanted to do a creative part of it, as it were, and get some pleasure out of it, which we did. Anyway, Peter eventually, when he left school 2 or 3 years before I did, he joined Fleetway Publications, as it was then. It wasn't IP, it was Fleetway, of course, in Farringdon Street. And being good pals, when I left school with not many GCEs, I must admit, but English language was one of them. So that was my sort of strength, if you like. And I asked him if maybe I could sort of get into his world. But at that time, you had to be a member of the union, and it was the Nat Soper Union. So actually, again, that first step was almost the most important part of it, because if you didn't pass that, then the union wouldn't send you for job interviews.
Oh wow, okay.
It was quite weird. It was a quite strange setup with
Well, the unions were really strong back then, weren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
In the print and stuff like that in the
I mean,
60s.
they
Yeah.
called the shots completely.
Yeah.
So people, guys from Fleetway would have to go to the union and say we need an office junior or someone, and then that sober would then send someone like me to go for the interview, as it were.
Right.
And that's really what happened. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, my first interview via that sober was for the Financial Times. And completely out of my sort of
what comic were you going to write for them?
Exactly. And I honestly almost made it. I mean, I felt the last hurdle with it in that interview, I think, because the guy at the end realised I really wasn't suited for it, I think, quite rightly. But the next interview that came up was at Fleetway House in Farringdon Street, which is where I went for an interview eventually. I mean, it's all through Peter, really, when I think about it. He's still a good mate, and we still meet up. And,
oh, that's nice.
Which is pleasant, obviously. Anyway, and I suddenly was at Fleetway Publications, 5th floor, for the role of office junior. But that really was how you started.
Yeah.
And I was interviewed by a guy called Alf Wallace. His secretary, I think, took a shine to me. And I think she was responsible, if you like, for sort of giving me a good sort of grade and saying, yeah, I like the guy, you know. Anyway.
We won't dig into that story anymore, David. Carry on.
I think we'll leave that one there. But she was very pleasant.
I thought you was going to say we've been happily married now for over 60 years.
That's it, all over. But anyway, it was a good time, and very, very shortly afterwards, I was offered the job at Fleetway as the office junior. And I started work on, because there were a lot of libraries at that time. I don't know if you know the pocketbook libraries.
Yes.
Thriller, War, Battle. And I started on 2 of them. There was Lone Rider Picture Library and Cowboy Picture Library. And that was under the editorship of a guy called Frank Byrne. And great, I loved it, you know. I mean, because I was in an office suddenly with all these larger than life characters.
Yeah,
and they're all served in, well, majority had anyway, served in the World War II.
Yeah,
they had experience and characters, personality, you know.
Yeah.
And so I was wide-eyed and sort of thinking, this is great. This is going to do me, and I must have sort of impressed to a certain degree, because all of a sudden, a very nice guy called Derek Burnage, who was the editor of Tiger, and I think one of the creators of Roy on Tiger in the late 50s, suddenly sort of waylaid me in the corridor one day and said, look, we need a guy to come in as the office, not the office junior, but more of an editorial role,
right?
But low down the pecking order,
right?
And offered me the job. So I must have impressed someone en route, doing my office junior role, you know, with the changing the towels, you know, picking up their cigarettes, getting their expenses. I mean, I was a willing lad, obviously.
You were doing all that, yeah.
I was doing all that, so I must have done it with a smile on my face, I think, most of the time. And and the rest is history, really. So Derek Burnage, if you like, gave me my first real opportunity, if you like, on a title I'd always loved.
The title, yeah.
And
which you're clearly aware of, and you loved previously. What sort of years was that then, David?
Well, that would have been 62.
Right.
So I did the office juniors role for about 6-9 months. So maybe around about the 62 period, you know. And it was a large office we went into, and Derek shared it. His group, his lads shared it with Lion. So it was Tiger and Lion. There's Bernard Smith, editor of Lion, Derek, editor of Tiger, and it was a pleasant time, because they were sort of gentlemen of the industry, you know.
I kind of got a picture of lots of people smoking pipes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nicotine stained walls, you know. You can imagine, can't you? You know, smoky atmosphere everywhere.
But good fun times.
It was a good time, really, for me, and it started me on my sort of route, if you like, to hopefully, you know, getting better in the game and better prospects in later on, as it were.
Yeah. So
Did you
just
mention your Subbuteo books when you got
oh
the
yeah.
job?
Sorry,
Did you mention your Subbuteo books when they mentioned it?
maybe I did. I can't. There was a guy called Reg Clark who did.
We've heard of
He
him.
was the editor. He was the skipper, I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
And he did
right, yes.
and he lived locally to me. I live in sort of near to Upminster, Hornchurch, that way, and he lived in Upminster. So Reg and I was a lot older than me. He must have been about nearly 60 then, Reg, but he gave me a good grounding again. And I think again en route, you need these people. Just if I was getting a bit cheeky or a little bit sort of above my station. He not in a nasty way, but he would sort of,
it takes you under his wing, so to speak,
exactly.
and kind of
Never,
and you can watch them as well, kind of. It's a bit like a mentor in a way, aren't they? Yeah, and you can
exactly.
Kind of,
You take heed from what they're doing, don't you? You know, and it was good. It was good. It was good grounding. And we had lots of staff then, though. I mean, later on, staffing levels tightened up quite considerably. But at that time, I mean, I think Tiger had about 4 or 5 people on it, you know, which is quite small, large compared to the
editorial team.
Our editorial teams later, as it were, you know.
Yeah. Just some of the. Do you at that time, like 1962? I'm thinking about the people that you say, like Derek Burnage was there, kind of. I think he was writing it, wasn't he? Around about, and that's about that sort of time. Bobby Charlton used to be on the cover.
That's
Bobby
right.
Charlton was like a ghostwriter.
It was all based around Bobby, wasn't it? I think because Bobby had broken into the Man United team, obviously, and all that happened with the sort of the sad sort of the Munich tragedy. But he was if you like the sort of the guy they took that Roy character from, I think.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky later when I was working on what was I working on then? It must have been Roy the Rovers, really late on in when just before Roy folded actually. But I met Bobby, and he came up to the office, and he didn't disappoint. He really didn't. He was such a nice guy, very pleasant, quietly spoken. And I loved him to bits, you know what I mean? Because it's just gone full circle now.
That's
this
lovely.
guy that Roy was based on. I'm now meeting, and we had a great conversation, and I reminded him of Roy Racing, obviously, and he took heart from that, you know. Yeah.
That's great, and wonderful. Think of some of the contributors. Would Joel Colquhoun, would he have been around there? Paul Trevelyan, was he around?
I think Joe was drawing Roy the Rovers at the time, was the artist on Roy. I think it was. I'm pretty certain it was Joe, and then Paul Trevelyan took over.
Yeah, 63 around about that. Yeah.
That range.
We've interviewed Paul. He's a bit of a character.
No, he's larger than life. Isn't he?
I was just going to say that.
God, love him to bits again.
He's
brilliant. We asked him one question, and then an hour and a half later we turned the tape off. Yeah.
That's him. Exactly. Anyway, that was Roy for me, and so I loved the character then. Barry actually was working on Eagle at the time. I don't.
Barry Tomlinson.
Barry Tomlinson.
Yeah.
So I got to know Barry quite well, and other guys, obviously. And you're all young guys, weren't you? And I was the sort of a little the scapegoat for because I'd missed national service.
Right.
Barry and a lot of them had done, you know.
Yeah.
And I think I was told quite a few times that maybe I should sort of toughen up a bit and get into the real world, you know, by these guys.
Learn some discipline as well.
Exactly, learn some discipline. Yeah,
those shoes aren't polished.
No, exactly. But it was good days actually, and I mean, obviously one's personal life. Your girlfriends, eventually your wife, and so forth. It was all happening, and I enjoyed it. I must admit, right from the onset, it's been a good career. I'm very fortunate to have worked in something which really, I mean, lots of people don't take seriously. Obviously, it's only a comic chum, but at the same token, it's a career that a lot of people enjoyed. You know, and got a lot of pleasure from. You know. Yeah.
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's
I think
hence
that's
what
when
we're
at the beginning when
talking
you
to
were
you
saying
now.
you. Sorry.
Yeah, quite.
Go on, Neil. Go on.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say at the beginning you were saying about how you're amazed that people are still interested. It's like a little bit of jealousy that you've been involved in all these titles, such fantastic titles. That's
Mm.
why wish to talk to you now because we would love. There's nothing to compare it to nowadays. Everybody's a computer programmer or social
Quite.
media, whereas then, like you had all these fantastic titles. And there's no new ones being made, so all we can do is pour over our old copies that we've got, and they bring back. So, I mean, I was born in '76, so when Roy the Rovers started, but I've bought like editions from before. But they bring such joy to me, reading them, and that's why we're so interested in speaking to you because we've said it to Barry and David Skew. You're our heroes. When you talk about you had your heroes like Bobby Charlton meeting him, it's the same when we meet you guys. We just want to
Yeah,
ask you these questions that when we read the comics, we're dying to ask.
it's quite strange that reaction
Yeah.
actually, because I
Sorry.
find that. I mean, I go to I don't want to preempt everything, but I go to a comic convention on Battle, and
Right,
it's
yes.
in Skilling in Northern Ireland.
Mm.
And the reverence you get from these guys who come up, not being rude, but similar ages to yourselves, really
Young.
Late 30s.
were enthusiastic, enjoyed the comic, really, and it's incredible to me. They know more about the titles than
Yeah.
I do, so they you continuously trip up because you'll say something and I say, no, that didn't happen. That was before or after. So
Yeah, be
Yeah,
prepared for that later on, David.
I was going to say we can be very bad. We're like,
Yeah.
I think you're actually fine. That's not quite the sequence
No,
of events.
exactly. I've got to be very careful there. I tread there. Be gentle with it.
So yeah, so it's brilliant to have you on. But yeah, let's fast forward a little bit then. So you've got a really good ground in there at Fleetway on the Cowboy libraries, and libraries. We focus on libraries a lot, especially as Football Picture Story Monthly libraries. But I know libraries, and then Derek Burnish kind of like poached you or nabbed you for Tiger. So great years there. But let's move forward to kind of late '60s, where this is the time where Scorcher was being thought of doing, and I understand you're one of the youngest editors ever of a comic. Do you want to tell us how that kind of came about and how that actually happened?
Well, I worked with Frank Capone again on a little comic title called, I think, Giggle at the time. Very in between jobs, as it were. Because he asked me to work with him, as it were. And then I eventually got back onto Tiger, and by which time David Gregory was now the editor.
Yeah.
And Barry was his number two.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was great to, I knew David from past adventures, as it were, and obviously Barry I knew very well. So it was great. I mean, I was really enjoying myself back on a title I sort of adored, back with people I liked, But I think my sort of if it call it a lucky break, I suppose, really was Barry being injured. He had a very, very bad back, and he was off for about 3-4 months with it. It really was very painful.
Oh, okay, wow.
He had lots of Barry will tell you the story better than me,
Yeah.
But I was then suddenly promoted into the number two role under Dave Gregory. Dave Gregory was a great guy, but he did like his lunches, So
we've heard about these legendary lunches.
Lunches, which are all expensive. It was a great time. Best restaurants, best bottle of wine in the house, as it were. But anyway, so while he was having his lunches, no offence to Dave, because I love it, but I was getting on with producing the publication, and I think I sort of went up sort of a few leaps, if you know what I mean, in the hierarchy thing, because suddenly Davey could rely on me, and he knew he could rely on me. Yeah. He could have another glass of port or whatever he was drinking at the time.
And things will still get out on time.
And the title would be still finished and done at the time, if you know what I mean. And so Scorcher really came on the back of the success of Shoot. Shoot magazine, which I think started in 71, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah,
it was 69 or 70. Yeah.
And David then had gone on to produce Shoot, which was proving very, very popular. I mean, football was on the
post
on the rise.
66. Yeah.
Everything, after 66, 70 was a good World Cup tournament as well.
Yes.
So even though we didn't win the time,
get past the quarterfinals, did we? No.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
but it was a great time for football, as it were, and it was just in its infancy of the regard for it, as if you like, whatever. And David went off to do a shoot, and they wanted to produce a football title for a younger age group, if you like. So Scorcher was the sort of spawn, as it were. And this was now done under Jack Legrand's.
Oh yeah.
It was, the Jack Legrand did Valiant. He was the manager of Valiant, Buster, and others. And so I went up into his department because I was suddenly sort of asked if I would be editor of this new title, which took me aback. But it was a strange time, really, because there was a lot of not animosity, because that's too strong a word, but a lot of sort of people didn't think this young upstart maybe should be earning the same as them or something, because you were
noses potentially put out of joint. You need to work a little bit longer before you get promoted up, that kind of thing.
Fairly meteoric
promoted
rise
too
as well.
early here.
Yeah.
As you say, I was the youngest ever, but John Sanders then was the managing director, as it were, or whatever his title was at the time. He was running all the groups at the juvenile titles, and he had faith in me for some reason. I think I must have impressed him along the way at some time. And all of a sudden, I was asked to do this new football title called Scorcher. Great. Football. It can't be bad. I mean, I love football.
Because you are a football fan, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Very much so. Don't mention West Ham.
This is no, probably we probably shouldn't. This is probably the time I don't mention I'm a Millwall fan either, David.
Oh, really?
Otherwise the whole
we'll be playing you next season, don't we?
Yeah, well, I hope so. That'd be good. It'd be good fun. Maybe the Metropolitan Police wouldn't like it, but
exactly. True.
Yeah. But okay, so Scorcher. Wow. Okay, so I mean that was obviously it was the first football themed only comic. And it's the first real kind of themed comic as well, wasn't it? Because most of all the comics up to then, like boys' comics, would have been like adventure, war, sport.
Yeah.
So it was a major departure, wasn't it? And so
the one, as you say, the one theme, wasn't it? And but again, on the back of sort of football success at the time, it was quite a successful Scorcher. Did quite well, really. It was. I mean, I just remember meeting other characters in Jack's area,
right?
Because I mean, you were a little bit sort of cocooned in your own area,
of course.
And they were the enemy on the 5th floor. We were on the 4th floor, with Tiger and Lion, but they were not really.
But friendly rivalry.
There was rivalry, exactly. But also, I was part of Jack's area, and Sid Bicknord. Do you know that name at all?
Yeah, rings a bell.
He was really sort of a group editor, and he took me under his wing. So and a lot of people, he was a little bit sort of schoolmasterly in a way and headmaster, but he taught me a lot about the business, the being on time and the nuances of the game, of running a title. Right. So I had great respect for Sid, really. I mean, a lot of people thought he was a little bit too schoolmasterly, if you know what I mean. But I took a lot of heed from him, as it were. Anyway, we got Scorcher up and running. And
was there a lot of responsibility though? Because if you I don't know how old you were, like late 20s or something like that. I mean, did you feel a lot of responsibility moving up?
About 25.
Wow.
Yeah, 26,
Can I kind of ask a question on that sort of a little bit? How does that work insofar as that there's a comic that's not even been published yet, and we'll come along, we ask you, we would like you to be editor. I mean, also, what does that mean? Does it mean also then for you to try and go out and find the stories, the scripts for it, or were you already handed saying, look, we've got this idea of a title and here's already some of the writers and the artists and the stories? Were they already in place, or kind of how did that work? Sorry.
Well, it was just meetings, really. I mean, always in Jack's office. Myself, Ken Manell, who was an ideas man, scriptwriter and ideas man. I remember him being there, myself, obviously. Sid, and it was just sort of, discussing ideas. We must have a young lad, who can't play football or something, and all of a sudden we've got a Billy's Boots, and what was it? There was quite a few in there, wasn't there? Lags 11, I think.
Lags 11, that was the prison
I'm
team.
sure that was sort of spawned under there was a Peter Sellers film at the time.
Lucky, yeah.
I mean, something like it would be
like
that.
There wasn't a story in Valiant called Legs 11, so I think they kind of used that as a bit of a kind of, and then Peter Sellers been in the film. Lags kind of So
the prison thing,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of my time.
Bobby of the Blues. Bobby of the Blues.
Bobby of the Blues.
Famous. Well, we had to do a sort of try and do a copy of Roy, didn't we?
Right. Yeah.
Sort of wholesome striker, good looking, good forward. He must be blonde this time. He's got to be dark haired.
Yeah, like a Beatles haircut, didn't he?
Yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, and all of a sudden, you've got 6, 7 characters to sort of kick you off. What they did do a lot of the time then, not so much later, but you would have your sort of chain of good artists.
Yes.
Joe Cahoon, Mike Weston.
Yeah, Mike Weston. He did the cover. I think Mike Weston didn't he? He did the cover.
Yeah. And you would ask them to do. I mean, they were working. Good, a lovely guy, and a special guy as well, and a lovely man. We would ask them to do the first couple of episodes, set the bar high, as it were, for another artist to follow their style or whatever you like. And so a lot of the time then it was almost like getting Mike to do Billy for the first couple of episodes and then someone else taking over.
I noticed that. Yeah, because I think Mike did the first couple.
2 or 3 of them.
And then I think Tom Kerr took over. And I think same for Bobby of the Blues. I think Joe Colquhoun did the first ever Bobby of the Blues.
Yeah. Did he?
Before Tony Harding.
Tony Harding took over, didn't he? That's right, yeah. So, again, I've got to be careful, you guys, because you all know these facts and I've forgotten.
That's why don't worry.
At all. Do you know what? Well, they're very rude of me, but I've got to, because as we kind of, people do give us feedback on the show. Of course, the first edition of Scorcher, and whether or not you'd remember this title, but a shout out to one of our listeners, Ozzy Lee. Of course, Kangaroo Kid was as well in the first edition of Scorcher. So we have a little bit of a laugh with our Ozzy Lee, one of our listeners.
Thank you for reminding me of these titles. Kangaroo Kid, I remember that one. Bob Bond was a very good as well. Very factual. I could rely on Bob to sort of. I mean, a lot of our covers were because of Bob.
He was the one who did like the football, the team histories and stuff like that.
Things, who's the star, that type of thing.
Big match preview, I think, was in the first. One.
Particularly Bob again.
Bob's work.
Such a joy to work with, because regular, you could rely on him. Work would come in on time, and it was always okay. You didn't have to do much to it, as it were, before it was printed. So you find your strengths from these guys, don't you? And who you can rely on, who you can trust. I mean, there was a team of script writers at that time. Tom Tully.
Tom Tully.
Frank Pepper was a mainstay. A mainstay
as well, but
Fred Baker, who did Billy's Boots for years and years and years. These guys were the mainstay of the industry, as it were. You could just sort of feed them an idea. In would come a script. You'd maybe discuss it for about 2 minutes and say, let's go with it, as it were. So they knew what was wanted.
They were legends.
Can I ask, and I do apologise again, I'm stretching your memory here. No, well, because Billy's Boots is always an interesting one, and just a little bit of a background, kind of, we've all like on Facebook, and this guy posted on Facebook and said that his dad actually drew Billy's Boots, and he said that he used to watch him playing in the garden, and he was the inspiration. And all us fanboys were like, no, you've got that wrong. And in actual fact, he was correct. But what we all recognised was the Billy's Boots from Scorcher, which is actually like a restart. So where you're aware, because Billy's Boots was initially a story in Tiger, in the early Tigers, but was a bit different to the Fred Baker story. I mean, were you guys aware of that? And that was a conscious effort to use that character, but kind of just change it to
Well, if
the
I'm
character
honest,
we know.
yeah, truthfully, I don't remember much about the Tiger character. I do.
Right.
I'm not
Yeah.
just trying to be on the
Yeah,
defense.
yeah,
No,
no, yeah,
no,
yeah.
no,
You know,
no, no.
to us, it was just a boy who
Mm.
couldn't play football
Yeah,
becoming a footballer.
yeah,
Which is
yeah,
we'd all aspire to if we could in that sense. So
yeah.
the readership. Then Billy was number one, and the majority of the
Yeah.
time as voted by them. So.
Yeah.
It was a very popular story. I think Sid Bicknell was the guy who came up with the original idea. I mean, it just
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No,
I
that's
think
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
pretty certain, in these discussions,
yeah,
and with Deadshot Keen, and we'll do, and that sort of thing, an old pair of boots in the attic, as it were, and from that, it was a great sort of a story was born, as
Yeah.
it were.
We
But
love.
sorry, I don't remember the Tiger.
no, that's
I do
fine. As I
apologize.
said, testing
I'm sure it might have
your
been. It
memory.
might have been in Sid's sort of
I think it's
Yeah, no, it was.
mindset,
Yeah,
well, so that one was in, I think, 60, 61. So it's pre your time, David,
yeah,
yeah,
at Tiger,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it was slightly different. So it wasn't
it was
little kid. It
different.
was
Yeah,
more of a comedy, even
yeah,
comedy one. But he had powered boots. It wasn't like
All right.
so, but it was
Mm.
called Billy's Boots. It was
yeah,
Oh,
called Billy's
really?
Boots. So
yeah.
yeah,
It
it
was
was called
called
Billy's
Billy's
Boots. So
Boots. Yeah,
so
You call
maybe
me
and these stories kind of germinate, don't they? And people think of an
Yeah,
idea, and
yeah.
it pretty he thought, oh, the title,
Title.
Billy's Boots, and it's kind of
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
Billy's Boots was it's just a
I
phenomenal
think one of our
storyline.
really good stories that was Hot Shot Hamish.
I was
I
going to
mean,
talk about. Yeah, go on. Tell us a bit about
sorry,
that.
so I'm preempting
Yeah,
you
no,
again.
go on,
I
go
do
on.
apologise, but
No.
I mean that was I don't know. We just wanted a Scottish flavoured story. I don't know,
Mm.
and Fred Baker was just brilliant at sort of comedy character roles.
yeah.
And that's what Hot Shot was really. I think he was called Prince of Princess Park. He didn't have the right title.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And we called it. We made. I think Ian Vosper, my number two at the time,
Mm.
Mad King, Portsmouth fan, lovely guy again. Keep on saying lovely, but he was a nice man. He is a nice man. But he came up with that title, I think, between us anyway.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden,
Brilliant.
the Hot Shot was born.
Yeah.
And that I love that character.
Mm.
Everything was Mac this, Mac that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
McMutton,
Yeah,
McWhacker.
The sheep was his dog, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean,
Brilliant.
if I may, I always
Go on.
absolutely adored the comedy element with the artwork. Just wonderful artwork. Whenever Hamish scored a goal, the net, the ball, and sometimes the goalkeeper ended up about 5
Exactly. Yeah, wonderful stuff. I mean, we had a guy there called Schiaffino, as you would know him,
Yeah.
Argentinian artist, and he's got to pick up all these sort of Scottish flavoured sort of characters and so forth, and he did it brilliantly. I mean,
Yeah.
amazing.
such talent, and obviously research.
Even when he was in the Outer Hebrides, it
Yeah,
felt like he was
exactly.
in the Outer Hebrides.
He
didn't
knew
it?
what to
You
do,
know.
didn't he? And his artwork was an inspiration to it. And that really, a lot of the time, is the sort of the chemistry between scriptwriter and artist is so important to a story, isn't it? Him and Fred just worked.
Clicked. Yeah.
But who would say, I mean, Fred himself was a nice guy, but he'd been in the industry a long while, went freelance and so forth. A bit sort of, he'd seen it all, done it all, and so forth. And you got this guy in Argentina. I mean, goodness
Crazy,
knows
isn't it?
that. You couldn't make it up, could you really? And all of a sudden, you've got a great double act producing a great story.
It's a weird kind of to use the link to. I mean, we're recording this when the Ryder Cup's on, and they're all talking about partnerships, aren't they? And they're trying to say which player plays with who, what's the right combination. But as you say, who could have thought that like Fred Baker has been in the industry for years? I think was he down in West Country or something like that?
Yeah,
Or
it was
something
down in
based
Devon somewhere. I think that way. It was now Bristol. I don't know. It was Devon,
and then
South Coast somewhere.
But I mean, it's a perfect combination with Hugo Schiaffino who's out in
Yeah,
Argentina.
exactly.
I mean, you couldn't. But it was gold, wasn't it? It was gold. It was.
And I mean, I think in other, like when we've spoken to Barry as well. I mean, these guys, for what they produced as well, and I don't think they'd ever really, they hadn't met either, and yet somehow they managed to strike up this amazing partnership.
But that was a sort of the way of the business back then. The artist and the scriptwriter would very rarely have contact apart from the script.
Yeah.
And it was weird, really. Not that we didn't encourage it or discourage it or whatever you want to say. It just didn't happen. You were on a tight schedule all the time.
It was
obviously.
a tight schedule. Yeah.
Very tight. 32 pages have got to be filled again next week. We start again tomorrow. All these talents coming together to produce it. We were sort of the guys back in the office, as it were. But I mean, they didn't have contact with one another, or very rarely did. So it was strange, really, that you could still get this rapport between the two of them, as it were. Yeah.
I must admit, it just fascinates me. Sort of, thinking in the modern day world, I'd reckon it'd be all like monthly editorial meetings all round, and the writers and artists being in the same room and really discussing microscopic, going through each frame, and to hear you guys.
The wing and a prayer sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean,
Look at
well, all I
produced,
can say
amazing.
as a reader, I would never have guessed until years later, speaking to you guys and hearing this is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So Scorcher, I mean, when you think back, Scorcher did fantastically well. I mean, it lasted for 4 years. I mean, eventually, obviously, it merged into Tiger in October '74.
We were lucky to have had Score and Raw en route.
Yeah,
as well,
because they
obviously.
joined in, I think, July '71. Yeah, so it added a few stories. Obviously, Nipper.
Yeah, Nipper was a great story, wasn't it? I can't remember.
Jack of United and Jimmy of City.
Jack and Jimmy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that was a clever story, really, because that was written by Frank Pepper, and the family interplay. One playing for one side, the local Man United, Man City type scenario, wasn't it? And he did it very well, Frank. He was again a great stalwart of the business. He really was.
But he wrote the first ever World of Rovers, didn't he? Back in 1954. He wrote the first few weeks anyway before Joe Colquhoun took over.
That's right. Yeah.
And Nipper. I mean, what you remember of, because Nipper was again written by Tom Tully.
Tully again, which was a typical Tully story. Tom story, really, because the youngster was it? Where was it? Was it Liverpool? Was it Liverpool based Nipper? Was it?
Well, no. Well, we didn't know. Yeah, it was Blackpool. It was by the docks. So we always kind of thought.
Yeah.
Because I think he found his dog Stumpy and drowning by the docks. So he was kind of living in this kind of like Dickensian.
Exactly, the back streets, wasn't it?
Back streets of some sort of port city. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Tom was a good another mainstay of the business. He really was. The stories he created and carried on with over the years, where it's just an incredible sort of catalogue of stories, really. I mean, just amazing. And he could. I mean, I can remember him going back to my library days on loan writing. He did a story called Saddle Tramp. One of the early lone rider picture line. I first
the westerns,
the westerns, sorry.
Yeah.
And it was mesmerising. Crikey, this is good. And this was a guy back in 1961 doing this, and all that time later, he was still producing good scripts for the business, as it were,
Yeah, and then Scorcher moved into Tiger. So 4 years is a really good, solid. It was solid.
Well, I mean,
sales.
No one wanted a merger, obviously, because it was obviously a title guide and staff along with it, as it were, in a sense. But it was always good for the recipient, if you know. Thank you very much.
Did you get the strong stories coming in?
The circulation went up. I mean, and Barry took, because he was editor at the time.
Yeah.
Barry took Nipper, Billy, and Hotshot.
Yeah.
Three very good stories, wasn't it? Really?
Stories.
I mean, he was delighted, obviously. Thank you, and the guys who worked on those stories as well, obviously. So that's what would happen, even though you didn't want a title or a die. It was a hatch, match, and dispatch thing. You were grateful for the extra circulation, because you were always battling against the decline in circulations.
It always amazes us, obviously, though, when back then, if you had the figures of what Scorcher was doing before its merger, there's probably national newspapers today that wish they had that kind of circulation. to hear
we would have been around about 200,000. I think.
Yeah,
It's amazing, really, isn't it? But obviously, the cover price was pretty cheap at the time, and so the sum didn't add up, to the accountants, and that was it, sort of thing, But I enjoyed Scorcher because it was one, a football title. Two, it gave me a good grounding in the business. I suddenly realised, as an editor, who had much more responsibility, and creating a team around you, and getting the best from them. So it was good for me,
I think it shows how popular it was because sorry, Matt. I said they were still releasing summer specials and annuals even after the circulation had finished. So I think it shows how popular the title was. Did you actually have any involvement in the annuals or the specials? The summer specials. Did you continue to edit them, or was they just
No. You had responsibility if you were the editor of the title, and your staff had responsibility. When Scorcher went into Tiger, it was Tiger, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Roy hadn't been born then.
No, that's right.
No. Rovers as a title.
Yeah.
That Barry would then have taken over the sort of Scorcher,
right,
and so and vice versa. When Battle, had Valiant come into it, or when Score and Raw came into the Scorcher. Let's go back one. We would then do the Score and Raw special or annual.
Right.
That's just the way it was, sort of thing. And even though you were only a very small team, when you think you're doing a 32-page comic each week, and then you had the specials, the annuals, which were big business at the time for the company. The annuals were super sort of profitable for the company, because it was a good Christmas treat, as we all enjoyed at the time, didn't we?
Oh yeah, we loved them. Yeah. So you would have been very busy, David, weren't you? Really?
Very busy, and then you got you're only 4 staff, 2 editorial, 2 art. Ian's not well. I'm not well. And all of a sudden you really are sort of battling to get this thing out each week, But we somehow we did it. I don't know. It wasn't massive staff, so do assure you.
No. It is as Paul was kind of alluding to earlier. It's amazing for us to think now there's only like a few of you. I know there's contributors doing stuff, but it's only like 3 or 4. It's amazing, really. It'd be hundreds of people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, again, this might come as sort of a surprise as well. Like for us, I mean, we've had these conversations. I didn't know that Scorcher was a comic. I remember getting a Scorcher annual, and seeing like Bobby of the Blues, and for me, I was kind of just about reading Roy the Rovers and that. And to me, it's like all these amazing new characters. And then as I get older, just like, what do you mean there's a comic? There was a comic that had all these stories in. So for some of us at times, it's also quite amazing that, as Neil said, these titles went on only as annuals. And then the mad thing is, I do wonder, we're then all going on modern day auction sites. Be careful which ones we advertise.
Exactly.
And trying to get these old editions and read these stories, which is testimony to the work that you produced.
Thank you. But I mean, it was an enjoyable industry, but it was quite sort of work related. You really had to sort of you couldn't sort of cheat, really. You had to be there all the time, and you couldn't sort of have long lunch hours most of the time because you had to get that publication out each week.
So it's so unfortunately Scorcher merges with Tiger. Well, for you anyway. So fortunate for Barry. So well done, Barry, friend of the show. But very soon after, though, you were approached to do Battle Picture Weekly, weren't you? Do you want to tell us, which is like obviously a very famous war themed paper?
Yeah, but if I'm honest, really, I mean, the next 4 years of my career, I think, were some of my best. I didn't enjoy the war scenario so much, but it was the way the stories were constructed and the way we got a good publication out. I think I was really quite proud of Battle during my time on it, as it were. Anyway, what had really happened was I think I was between jobs. I wasn't sort of wasn't sort of considered a failure because of Scorcher, so I'd done quite well with it, and which was good. And I think I worked with Bob Painter for a little while on one of his titles, the editor. I think what was that called? Jackpot. Bob Painter.
Oh, right, yeah.
Have you ever interviewed Bob Painter?
No.
I tried to get hold of Bob because he was like a machine. The titles that came out of his sort of comic empire was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I worked with him for a little while, and then all of a sudden, John Standard called me into the office one day. I've never been a political animal, so I don't really know what's going on really around the business. I think Barry would know a lot more than me about that type of thing. Because, him being a slightly elevated position, he would know more, sort of thing. Anyway, two guys have been brought down from Scotland. Worked for DC Thompson, guys called Pat Mills and John Wagner.
Yeah.
Secretly, in John Purdy's girls area,
right? Yeah.
They were producing a war comic.
Right.
So, unbeknownst to Jack McGrath, Sid Bicknell, Dave Gregory, and all the subjects, everyone did know, obviously, apart from me, I think. And I sort of called into his office one morning, and he said these two guys are down there, go along to see them because they'll need some editorial experience. But they're creative, but you need to keep them in line. And that was my first meeting with John and Pat, who had produced Battle, and I think it was almost about 2/3 complete when I met them for the first time. But I enjoyed being with them because they were very trying to take the comic industry into a slightly sort of more serious area, and it was good stories, complete stories, not episodic as most of our stories were at the time, and so forth. And I had a great experience. I was only there, I think, issue 9. I think I took over the complete reins on it because they were moving off. That was typical of them too. But I enjoyed the next 4 or 5 years, even though they were difficult and sometimes what with censorship and so forth and lots of things going on. I really enjoyed Battle because I think it was if you like my peak of of creativity or whatever. I took to it and I had a good. Again, you come back to these number 2s again. I mean, all the time on Battle, I had Steve McManus. You'll know him.
Okay. He went to 2000 AD.
He was very young at the time, and he came in and I gave him a lot of experience, which he needed. But a good creative guy, good mind, and a good worker. And Ian Vosper, later Ian Rimmer on Eagle, and Roy Preston on. Number 2 guys were very, very important, extremely important. When I think back now, I mean, you try to create a team, don't you? You can't fall out with these guys really, because if you do, you're not going to get a good product at the end of it. But I was very fortunate with my assistants, if you like. They were good. In the main, they were very, very good,
So, clearly, maybe you spoke about your early career where people were spotting you as a good person and a sound person, and they were choosing you, and probably you're kind of doing the same, aren't you? Really thinking, I want that person as my number 2. We can work, cheek to jowl together to get somebody you can trust.
It wasn't the case with Steve McManus because he was suddenly he'd been working with Sid for a little while, I think, but he suddenly brought him in, and John and Pat had departed. And I needed a number 2 urgently. And there's this fresh-faced young guy, didn't really have any experience in the business, only just joined. But he was a real sort of find for me. He was really, I was so lucky, because that's so important, And we got on very well. Still see Steve to today. I meet up with Steve and Mike Weston's son, Peter Weston.
Wow.
Who's again, and we have a couple of beers together, and
lovely.
And it's we reminisce like mad, all the bad stuff discarded, but good stuff's all right.
I tell you what, I'm sure we'd love to come and record some of those conversations. I'm not sure whether we'd be able to put them out on air, but we'd love to do that. Sorry, go on, David. No, go on.
Well, I'm just going to say, Peter's just like his father. His father was workaholics, really.
Yeah.
I mean, they work they'd be like a sausage machine.
It's incredible. Yeah, the artists as well. They worked so hard because it took so long to do the
Unbelievable.
drawing, the
You know,
colouring.
I
Yeah,
want another cover from you next. I'm up
yeah,
to my
yeah.
eyes, Dave. No, we need this cover. And you had no regard for them in lots of ways. Just get me a cover, Mike, because you know you can do it. So you bully these guys into it. And now I talk to Peter quite often because he was a son who was a young lad who was experienced the situation at home. You know, I mean, Mrs. Weston wasn't best pleased because suddenly the weekend job has got to be cancelled.
Yeah.
We were horrible, really, when I think about it.
I'm sure you weren't, David. I'm sure you
But
weren't.
all for the good of the title, you know, obviously. Anyway, so we go.
Just you kind of alluded to it and mentioned there. I mean, let me be honest. I mean, the guys are much better than me. My whole comic thing is really zoned in on football. So I'm not so. Obviously I'm aware of the other editions and titles, but I mean I'm aware of this more because of with action. But I find it interesting, like you said, sort of like the controversies or that being judged on the content and stuff like action actually got banned, and so that really was a thing in the day when you were producing Battle. And out of interest, you said you really kind of were going for more realistic. Were you also potentially looking at raising the age of the readership, or was it just sort of really more sort of story based that you wanted to do it?
Yeah, it's a good question because I mean I was aware all the time that we might be sort of breaking some rules here, because you're still talking about kids, aren't you? 8, 9, 10 years of age. But Battle was created on the premise of reality. Much more. It wasn't, but nothing wrong with Captain Hurricane or
no.
Battle of Britain. But these characters were war-torn characters who, and it was going to be heavy. A lot of the time. I was always aware. I mean, I had letters from MPs myself, and the constituent come in and said my son shouldn't be allowed to see this type of thing, and me writing a sort of hopefully tactful letter back to the MP saying, it's a scene that's realistic because it happened in war torn. We didn't. I mean, it wasn't sort of gross.
No
visual effects, but the inference was always there. That war is not a very pleasant business.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, I mean, a bit rich for me because obviously I'm 2 generations away, and I mean, the world's in interesting times again, sort of it feels. But thankfully, as you say, I misconscription by miles and those things. And I'm not having a go at anybody, but I do sometimes feel that some of the previous titles where glorify or make sort of heroes and as if war is a fun thing, I think that's kind of dangerous in itself as well, actually, to be quite honest, because let's be honest, it's
egoistic.
it's far from that. And I think it's really interesting to see what you were doing, and I think that personally, I think that would give us as youngsters a much more level grounding
Balance.
as well. Balance.
It's funny because one of the first stories after Pat and John had left Battle, one of the first stories I think I dreamed it up actually was a football story called "Team That Went to War."
Yes.
I don't know of it at all, but
oh god,
and I brought Mike into
Mike did
Battle.
it. Mike Weston did
Mike
it.
Weston, Tom Tully was again the script writer, and I mean sometimes if I go back over my old copies, I read. They were heavy. They really were, because each footballer had a different story to tell.
That's right.
And I didn't realise it was quite as.
I mean, I think we did touch on it, and I've got some. I think I can't remember. I might get this wrong, but I think it might have been Barchester United. But the one thing I remember, we did speak about this on a pod recently, but also sort of kind of a very poignant panel. I can't remember if it is the last panel in the last episode, but the team sort of coming out, but that memory of the guys that unfortunately had gone to war and didn't come back.
Yeah, quite strong stuff, really, wasn't it? In a sense, I mean, it wasn't enjoyable because it's not really an enjoyable subject, but I think some of the sort of creation of it was very good. Anyway, that was Battle, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
yeah, the stories. I mean, yeah, the famous stories like Darky's Mob and
Yeah.
Johnny Red, and obviously Charlie's War, which Joe Calhoun obviously was the artist for. It's just
I was
incredible.
very fortunate because Pat and John, again, always fortunate, but Pat and John now had gone freelance,
Right. Yeah.
and I desperately didn't want to fall out with them because you could quite easily fall out with one of them anyway. But we won't go into that because they
creatives are famous
so
for
intense, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I was aware that they were very good script writers and great imaginations and so forth, and are still doing work to this day. So I had these guys on my side. So something like Charlie, which was World War One story, attrition, not really going anywhere, And so you've got Pat doing this, and I encouraged him to do it because I think we had to do it as a war comic. We had to feature that war, and then I pushed Joey. I took him off a very successful story called Johnny Red, and pushed him and made him the artist on Charlie. And Joe himself was very, very. He didn't mind because they were used to it, and they do whatever they were told a lot of the time. Most of the time, I'm not being rude to them. That wasn't they were subservient, but it was work to them.
Of course,
it paid the bills.
People, that's to earn money. Exactly.
To be glib about it, but I'm trying to say. And it's it will never work. Joe said to me, "It's a war of attrition. It's going nowhere." And yet, I think it was a masterpiece from those two, really. Personally. Joe and Pat got together, made this thing work. The young hero, really not quite all the ticket. He's, again. But I really I think of all the stories I've worked on throughout my career, I think Charlie is really very much up there, as a number one story.
And I think anybody. I know we're a football comic podcast, but anybody who's interested, there's books, the compendiums of them all available, aren't they? And they're fantastic. What we've done with those. So moving on from Battle, I think there was a couple of. So I've got a couple of titles here, baby. So I'm going to test you. You kind of know. So Top Soccer. So this is about 1979. I think this is almost like a rival to Match or Shoot or something like that.
It was.
Do you remember much about that?
Yeah, I've always had this feeling I was a little bit sort of what's the word, shafted. I don't know.
Shafted is probably if you thought of the word first. That's probably the word.
There's me with my love of football. And Dave Gregory calling me into his office, or mate, I think it was David, saying, "I want you to be editor of this new sort of title. It's a Match Goal, which was another football title from another company." Match. That was EMAP, wasn't it? Anyway, sorry. And great. I think I was ready for a change anyway. He'd been on a title for 4 or 5 years, and Barry was going to take over. Barry and my career. Our careers have been very intertwined, and he took Battle over as a group editor. So he had Roy, Tide was still going, obviously. Roy, he now had Battle. Might have had something else, I don't know. Anyway,
2008 probably as well at that time. Maybe.
No, never worked on that. No.
Oh, okay.
Sorry to be a Matt.
No. You correct me.
No. I tell you, nor did I really, apart from maybe sort of having these long and intense conversations with Pat Mills. So Pat was developing it, with his nervous energy, coming into the office, me and Steve, and sort of sounding us out for a bit different thing. But it was nice to work. Anyway, that's another story. But anyway, so back to Top Soccer, and we're going to do this football title, and we want you to be the editor of it. Great. And I think Top Soccer was really good. I would say that, obviously, but Peter
there's no one here to say it wasn't.
No, exactly. Peter Shaw, I don't know. Have you caught sight of it at all?
I've seen
only online. I must admit,
I think Kevin Keegan was on the first one. I think it's
Kevin Keegan. We did his life story, didn't we, in parts, and Peter Shilton, I think, was our sort of main lead, sort of into it,
Right.
And I enjoyed it, but it didn't do very well, unfortunately. I don't think it lasted more than about 15, 20 episodes. I don't know.
Yeah, it must be interesting because you think, because Shoot was so popular. Shoot was so popular, and Match was also really popular as well. It's like thinking, why did you need another one, really? But I suppose
I was called into Dave Gregory's at a little while after his demise, and Dave, very honest with me, and he said, "Dave, Top Soccer, I enjoyed it. We think it was good, and I think it gave Shoot a little bit of a lease of life because the way we produced the title was a much more visual thing. Shoot had become a little bit sort of wordy and
it was. Match was always more exciting. Whereas,
exactly. And I think it G'd them up because Top Soccer had a look about it.
It did. It had more of a modern look than Shoot at the time.
They said, but what had happened? I think Odms were bringing out a title called Goal at the time. Forgive me if I'm getting all this in the wrong order, but I think it's right. And he said, really, Top Soccer was spawned because of as a rival to Goal. So that wouldn't succeed. And nor did Top Soccer then because of it. And I thought the machinations that go on in this business, naive me,
thinking I've got a great title,
getting into this title, and it's all a ploy.
It's very interesting to hear that exactly as you just said about the politics, but then that's not the office politics, that's the politics of the business. There's another publisher releasing this title. Let's get something out there to diminish that.
Yeah, exactly. And he was quite honest. I had a great time for David. And so therein lies the story of Top Soccer, I think. Maybe not quite as strong as that, but I'd like to think that was the reason why it didn't fit.
Okay. And then after that, I've got down a couple of publications which we've probably Speed. I know Speed was another one which was launched. Was it in 1980? Which lasted half a year, I think.
That was a Barry inspired thing again. Back to Barry, always with Barry. And he brought out Speed, which I helped him with, obviously. And it didn't last very long, but again, quite
a few stories moved into Tiger, I think, didn't they? I think.
Again, it's good fodder. For existing titles in a way because it boosts them, isn't it? I mean, we did a thing on that called Speed Treasure Run. Great stuff. We were all around the country. Burying little pots of treasure for these kids to dig up.
And you'll get paid to do this, Dave. It's not a bad job,
exactly,
is it? Really?
No, it's not. I took my wife on these jaunts, and it was driving a rented car with best hotels and so forth, doing all these sort of things. Great stuff. I was delighted with that. So, but again, Barry, very, very much an ideas man, Barry, continuously seeing the business for what it was. One of the best PR men I've ever known in the business, Barry. Incredible things he got away with, and all for free as well. Big stars. God knows how he did it. I was in awe of Barry for that reason. I had no PR skills whatsoever. I was almost apologising when I was talking to these big stars. But Barry had a way of sort of getting him on his side, and we'll do that.
He's great, Barry.
Sorry, Matt. I could be wrong, but a couple of things on Speed, obviously, because of the football comic. I always remember it was one of the stories was the fastest footballer on earth, Mickey Jordan, who we kind of have featured in this pod because when Speed finished, Mickey Jordan joined the Marx Brothers story in Roy the Rovers as a character in that. But the other one, if I believe I'm right, which is very interesting, I think there was a story called Death Wish. Blake Edmonds, and I think in actual fact that again, although not a football story, but it's one I'm very aware of because that did very well. And like you said again, is that another scenario where again it gave this character an airing in Speed, and that went into Tiger. But I know that's one that, like Matt said, that even though the comics have stopped being produced, I believe they've done a couple of specials and reprint books of the Death Wish. So I know that became a very popular story and title amongst the readers. So
I quite enjoyed Speed. Really, it was only brief for me, obviously, but it was all Barry's creation. But it was done by the time I got. He just needed an editor to keep it on track, as it were, And so, I enjoyed Speed, but unfortunately, it made good sort of circulation figures for it went into Tiger, didn't it? Tiger Speed.
It did. Yeah.
Well,
then,
so to be the bearer of
oh,
bad news, I
yeah,
was
go
going
on.
to say earlier on, the other title, Scorcher, when that went into Tiger, I mean, that was one of the banners that Tiger and Scorcher lasted for years. And then I think they dropped the Scorcher heading and it went back to Tiger briefly before it then became
But bit
Tiger and
speed, yeah,
Speed.
yeah. They knew what
Oh,
was going
right,
to
yeah.
happen.
Yes,
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
That's
yes,
true.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then New Eagle. So Eagle
Mm.
was launched again, and that's another would have been another one of Barry's ideas, of course, I'm sure.
Yeah,
But
well,
we know it was.
Barry, from the generation when he was a young lad himself, he was an avid reader of
Yeah.
the original Eagle, which again broke all new
Oh, it's
ground in the
incredible.
incredible title. Barry
Yeah.
loved the Eagle title. So again, it was quite an honour for me for him to ask me to do the new Eagle with him, as it were. He was group editor and I was editor of it. But we went down a photo strip route, obviously,
Yeah.
which was
Quite
all
controversial, wasn't it? Yeah.
great fun at the time. But God, did we get some flack from the traditional guys of the business?
Yeah.
How dare you sort of tell stories with photographs, which is only really, we wanted to make it different in as much that because the original had broken new ground, let's try and do something with this title to make, original from the other titles, as it were, make it different.
It's a brave idea. Yeah.
Yeah, it was I think it was a good idea, and lots of it did work. But it was a very costly procedure. It was very labour intensive, and then time you'd paid the actor who did Renette, time you'd paid the photographer, paid the agency, paid for the costumes, and we weren't really sort of creating world-shattering vistas, if you know what I mean, because we were in like this lounge.
Yeah.
That was our sort of a scene, if you like.
When I've looked at some of them, it's yeah, because you just got a guy in a mask, haven't you? In a kind of
Exactly.
it kind of looked like, don't want to upset Doctor Who fans, but it kind of looked like, the most DIY Doctor Who. When Doctor Who didn't have a big budget, it kind of,
No, exactly.
and you can see how you could have been restricted as a
It was,
creative, where you could
was
do amazing
restricted.
drawings and art and stuff like that.
As soon as it went off to, I think Gianetti's artist took it over, and then Heinz, I think it might have been Gianetti himself, and then Eric Bradbury did it later on.
Yeah.
I mean, then the scenes just open up, don't they?
Yes.
Because you can do whatever you want then.
Yeah.
You're relying on great artists to sort of portray sort of great scenes, as it were, But it was still a lot of fun. I mean, when I look back, I'm glad we did it in a way.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Maybe it was wrong decision. I don't know. But,
if I may, I was a big fan of Doom Lord, and of course, like Matt just said, Doom Lord being an alien, just a mask in the photo story, and it was what it was, really, wasn't it? It was
We all appeared in it. I think Barry was. He appeared a few times at one of the Dread Council. I was also part of the Dread Council, which was judging Doom Lord. Was he doing the right thing? Judging Earth, as it were. The idea, the premise was that the human race doesn't matter. If we're not doing things right, obviously, the Earth is going to be sort of obliterated, as it were.
A very interesting strip.
Light-hearted then.
Yeah, but again, see, it was Alan Grant and John Wagner who did the strips.
Oh wow, okay.
And they were intelligent enough to know that you can't do massive scenes and so forth. And I think their writing was very clever on it in lots of ways, and it was very popular. I mean, it beat Dan Dare in the popularity.
Right,
which is quite something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although I never think we got Dan Dare right, because Dan at the time was the copyright was with a company called Discovery, which Barry and myself went along to see, and he wouldn't allow us to use the original Dan Dare.
Okay.
It was all very convoluted and frightening, and so and so it was the great grandson. All a bit made up and so forth. So it was all a bit strange, that one. But I liked Eagle because we did try to do something different, which I thought was good. I mean, going back to Doom Lord, I'm telling you, I'm working with a guy in Northern Ireland at the moment, Hibernia Press, and they're bringing out a Doom Lord book,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
going to say.
Do you know that David McDonald? Did he ring a bell at all? I mean, with you
Yes.
guys?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
sorry.
Go on, carry on.
Well, I mean, I've written a piece for him this week,
brilliant.
which he's going to use in the book. You know, about Donald's creation and the fun we had sort of doing some of the scenes, as it were. So you bringing up Donald is quite sort of current for me, as it were. You know, yeah. So yeah.
I was going to mention that, you know, that's coming out the collected works, and it'll have the photo stories in, and really looking forward to that. And I love the work that Hibernia do. I was a big fan of. I know this isn't your work, but 13th Floor and things like that,
Oh,
and
yeah,
they've released some really good stuff.
It's a shame, really, because that was in Scream 13th Floor.
Yeah.
Max the computer, wasn't it? The malevolent.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Great fun.
No,
I'm a sorry for it.
It's one of my favourites. As the rest of the gang know, I've collected all of the Screams and the various sort of specials since. It was a cracking story. It really
was. Yeah. I mean, very quickly, because I'm rambling. I know. I'm sorry.
No, great. No, keep rambling.
Yeah, I mean, Scream was edited by a guy called Ian Rimmer. It was under Barry's wing, but it was and Ian came on to New Eagle with me in the adventure. Not again, Liverpudlian, nice guy. And anyway, but he had a very I've got to be careful with our phrases. He was very sort of union orientated. His father had been a big trade unionist in Liverpool, the like, and so forth. And suddenly we had another dispute at IPC magazines where we were all sort of voting to stay out.
There's quite a few of them, wasn't there?
More money, quite a few of them at the time. and then it was double-edged for us editors because we still wanted our titles to survive, didn't we?
Yeah, of course.
And I'm not. I should be careful what I say. I mean, I didn't break the rules, but I did to a certain
extent.
Yeah, you know,
you bent them. We were on the lines of them.
Yeah, very much so. Ian wouldn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Ian, I think, put everything into a cupboard, locked the cupboard, all the artwork for that week. John Sanders took offence to that, as it were, because where is it? And Ian wouldn't let him have it, you know. I'm sort of abridging quite a lot, you know.
And, sure.
Unfortunately, Scream died.
It kind of killed it in a way,
union action
delayed it.
And Ian he wasn't as he was just such a pleasant man, but he believed in the union.
That's
the way he felt, you know. So all of a sudden we've got Max in Eagle now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, well, really, I quite enjoyed that. I love Max. He was brilliant.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
So it's amazing, though, you mentioned these names because, of course, then Ian Rimmer to me, because as I say in the football, he then years later, when Egmont, Roy the Rovers came back in Match of the Day monthly magazine, and Ian Rimmer did the scripts and the story for that with Barry Mitchell doing the artwork.
That's right.
So
he
many
did
years
it with
later.
Beyond Roy, didn't he?
Right. Yeah. Well. Yes. Right.
Because, I mean, and Barry was a good friend. He was on the Isle of Wight, and I thought that was a good pairing, actually. You know. Anyway, that's another story. We'll get to that.
Maybe we'll get to that in a minute. Yeah. I was going to say. What time's the Ryder Cup on?
Exactly. It's soon, isn't it?
Soon, we'll be over soon. Okay. Well, let's move it along. It's just we'll talk to you for ages, Dave. We'll have to bring you back on again, David, if it's okay with you. Okay, let's move on then to 1988, Hot Shot, because that's the next kind of key football title. What you're kind of, and I know, Goal, you've got a couple of questions, haven't you, for David on this? But Hot Shot was launched, the time with Gary Lineker and stuff like that. Do you remember how that came to pass?
Again, Barry.
Barry, of course, it's always his fault.
I mean, Barry wanted to do another football title. He saw some longevity in it. Obviously, he got it past the ball. They okayed it. And my main memory of that was working with Gary Lineker. We met him, he was playing for Barcelona at the time, and we met him in a London hotel. Wasn't very agreeable, really. Sorry, man, I don't want to talk about
Didn't
people.
didn't didn't you didn't you kind of wasn't there? Barry mentioned this before, whereas you're supposed to meet up at a certain time, but you're in different parts of the hotel or something like that, and
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you end up
Something like
turning up
that.
late or something like that. So
He'd come down from his room and were waiting
oh,
for.
okay,
We
right,
were in the
okay,
wrong area. It wasn't our fault actually. We'd been sent anyway. But he
right,
was okay. Yeah, okay. And then I can remember his wife came down, Michelle.
Yeah.
yeah,
It was very pleasant, and made him cheer up. And anyway, and he agreed to be a part of the hotshot team, as it were. But I can recall there because he was in Barcelona, and me phoning him for the first script and having to write the first script, and
oh wow, okay,
well, for the first copy, it wasn't a script. Sorry.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and he said, "Oh, I can only give you 2 minutes," blah blah blah, which is fair enough. I said, "Well, Gary, hold on." I said, "You are being paid for this." I said, "If you don't want to do it, you really should tell us now." Really, it was very difficult, sort of location wise, where he was, where we were,
yeah,
and so forth. And I said, "You really must. We need copy from you. We need comments from you."
It's
You
called
know,
Gary Lineker's Hot Shot, so we
yeah,
need something.
exactly.
Yeah,
And he
yeah,
was the main writer. It was his comic, wasn't it? Yeah, and it was all okay. I mean, he gave me some stuff in the end, but it was all a bit begrudging,
right,
Interesting.
Actually, after I did a match of the day annual for what did I do? I can't remember that. Was that Egg1? I think it might have been Egg1. And I had to get in touch with him again, and he was very present then on a mainstream match of the day annual in Alan Hansen.
yeah, okay, yeah,
Were very helpful for me in myself producing that. So I forgive him from the initial days. It may be a difficult time for him.
Well, it's interesting as well. You're wondering the difference for him as well. Where he's like you say, he's at Barcelona, and I can't remember at the time because his career at Barcelona wasn't always running smooth, like when Cruyff was manager.
Yeah,
oh,
So
that's
you
true.
probably
Yeah, they
had
stuck
that,
him on the wing,
Yeah.
didn't they?
going
Yeah.
on potentially. I mean, I can't remember exactly the dates, but as you say, but then actually maybe life for Gary was a little bit easier when he's just kind of the presenter of Match of the Day.
Yeah, exactly.
So as you say, you kind of get that different.
Yeah,
And I can imagine being a footballer, the focus is more about trying to get in the team and scoring goals, right? Than
and we were quite sort of a nuisance, almost like oh God, not you again. It's weekly, Gary. It's weekly. We need
yeah.
coffee.
Well, I only spoke to you last week. Why are you calling me again?
Forget Terry Venables. Forget Johan Cruyff. What about us? Yeah, I know.
Exactly, mate. Yeah, exactly. But it was okay. I mean, it didn't last very long, I'm afraid. I had Roy Preston, my number 2 there. He was another good guy. But he went into shoot. It merged into shoot, and I think Gary was much better with shoot. He was more a mainstream title.
Yeah, because he really recognised it from going up himself, probably. Yeah,
because Peter Stewart was, I think, managing it at the time. He was doing it, so he found him perfectly okay. So forgive me if I had my little sort of dodgy spell with him, as it were. Not in a nasty way. I'm not like that, but I had to remind him every now and then that you're contractually
obliged
to do something.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to do it, say no and just break the contract. Anyway, that's another story.
Goal, did you have a couple of questions for David and Hotshot?
I do, yeah. First of all, forgive me, David. I've hardly said anything to you, and I'm going to.
No, it's good. It's nice to hear. Don't worry. It's me rambling on. Sorry.
Go on, carry on.
Go.
Oh, okay. So just to correct you, if that's okay. Oh dear. Gary Lineker's Hot Shot merged into Roy of the Rovers.
Oh right, yeah. Sorry,
but,
right. Oh, did it? Yeah. But he became a. I think he transferred into shoot as
maybe he did as a
writer.
Maybe he did.
I don't think Roy took him on as a writer, did they?
No, that's right.
They took the
title. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, but a very good point. Yeah, that is good. But he went over as their writer, as one of their columnists, as it were.
Oh
yeah. But the title went into Roy. But that's a good point. Yeah.
As the rest of the team know, still am a huge Hot Shot fan.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'll fight you for the title of the number 1 fan goal, but go on.
Well, you've got every comic ever in the background.
Yeah, I wish I did, but anyway.
Good.
I will. I promise I'll get to the two questions in a second. But yeah, of course, Hot Shot ran for 25 issues, then merged into Roy the Rovers. Interestingly, it was the only comic that merged into Roy the Rovers in its entire run, which I think is quite fascinating. And then after a while,
I didn't know that. Good point. Yeah.
And then they dropped the Hot Shot after a while. But the two stories that crossed over from Gary Lineker's Hot Shot were, of course, Andy Steele Playmaker, which I adored, and Magic Man. My two questions to you are: I know most of the time when the amount of comics that are sold sort of declines a little, they merge into other comics. Was it always the plan to merge into Roy of the Rovers after the 25 issues, or was it just a case of it sort of run its course?
Well, in my naive sort of the mentality, I don't think any title, was ever sort of created initially to merge, if you see what I mean. Yeah. But I think that was always the next plan. If it didn't work, it can always go into a title. Right. So, yeah, I mean, as with Top Soccer, it was created for a reason, and my political nuance is not good. But I never really felt Speed, Hot Shot, as you say, was ever produced. Any title I worked on was ever going to be because it was good fodder for an existing title. Maybe that's a naive outlook, but that's how I felt anyway at the time. So I mean, Barry might know more about that because, obviously at his level, the political side of it was very much more to the fore, as it were. I didn't really get involved too much in that. I just did my job, as it were, and kept out of it because I didn't like the political side, Anyway, that's another story.
My other question, of course, there was also, by the way, for the listeners, a holiday special and also an annual as well. Although the annual was sort of titled Hot Shot Soccer Book as opposed to being an annual. I do have both of those, of course. There was also my other question. There was also a computer game which had the same cover as issue 1. Now, you've probably kind of answered this in the sense of it was, created, but which one came first? Forgive me if you don't know the answer to that, but was the computer game, which was titled Gary Lineker's Hot Shot, was that part of everything or not?
Okay. Well, again, your knowledge is far superior to mine. I remember the computer game, but I can't really remember which came first. I mean, because Barry created Hot Shot initially, he wanted the football side. Was he sort of swayed by that? You might have got something there which I have no knowledge of. I'm sorry to be blamed.
No. I always wondered whether that would be something that would be answerable by yourself. But
Barry was obviously much more. You would have known that, But maybe if you ever talk to Barry again, which I'm sure you will, ask him that one. Sorry, I don't mean to be. I mean, we were all aware, producing comics at the time, that the computer business was getting stronger and stronger, and comics were unfortunately getting weaker and weaker, as it were, circulation wise. I mean, I did things in an Eagle called Computer Warrior, which is based around real life video games, computer games, and then that was well received again because it had a reader sort of participation part of it. The reader became a part of the computer game.
Right.
So we were all aware of it, but sadly at that time it was all a little bit of a downhill for the majority, to use a cliche, as it were.
I mean, sorry, I was going to say if the comic did come first, then that's a great bit of savvy business from really.
Well, I'll tell you something. I'm going to meet Barry very soon. He's not been very well, as we get older and things, and things have not gone quite well for him just recently. But I'm going to go up. I'm going to drive over and see him. But I'll ask him that question.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I will do, honestly, and because if it did come from that, I wasn't privy to that sort of knowledge, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They were
we're,
pretty much
we're definitely going to get him on. Sorry,
Yeah.
go. Yeah, we're definitely Barry will come on again. I'm sure he will.
Yeah,
as
I'm
well.
sure.
So we'll
Yeah,
get an
yeah,
opportunity
yeah,
to ask him as well.
yeah.
Can I just ask? Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say to finish off, forgive me, Paul. David, I haven't said too much, and then when I do, I ask you a question you don't know the answer to. I'm off. I'll get my cake.
Sorry about that. Apologies.
It's all right.
No,
It's
no.
not a test, David. Don't worry.
No,
We
no,
won't give you
Don't worry,
It's fine.
Dave. Goal quits
I'll tell you
15
something.
times every
When I
pod.
go out to Enniskillen, it's a test.
Yeah, I bet it will be. Yeah,
They're much better than me.
yeah. Gosh,
Well,
gosh.
apologies, but I've got one
No, don't
last
be
hot
silly.
shot thing, but I don't know if you've got any recollection of this. And again, I'm not sure. In fact, I'm testing my own memory. But when Hot Shot was published, and the story that both me and Gull obviously really enjoyed and remember was Andy Stillwell, a playmaker story. But it was also sponsored by Quasar, who were the football boots that
Yeah,
Gary
yeah.
Lineker had just signed. Do you remember anything about that relationship or not? Or
Well, again,
any details?
that would have been
Well done,
Barry.
Barry,
Yeah,
doing his
good old
thing.
Barry, because he was into that sort of thing, sponsorship, which
Yeah.
was becoming important because if they could.
Yeah, get revenue
I think
from
we
anywhere
gave away
else.
Quasar boots and
Yes.
all that sort of thing, and
Yeah.
which would have been a good sort of plus for the time. I mean, sorry, Gil Page was the Gil Page.
Oh yeah,
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 no,
yeah,
no,
managing
yeah.
head, nice guy again. I always say nice guy, but he was. I got on very well. We
We're
played
going to
golf.
spot the people you don't say nice guy
No,
about.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I mentioned Gary Lineker, but he can face it.
I think he's doing okay.
Sorry,
Do you know what? I think he'll
okay.
be all right, old Gary. Yeah.
I'm sure you won't worry about me. But Gil Page was the scriptwriter on Andy Shaw's story, and I always felt that it could have had a bit more dimension to it. I don't know. Barry Mitchell was the artist, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right. Yeah.
That's right. And I mean, when I was on Roy, later, that story was still one of the main stories.
Yeah.
Very popular, but I never quite took to it myself. Sorry.
No.
Because I felt it needed a little bit more into it, a little bit more of a character. He was just a guy.
Just really
who was
nice, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But
I think that.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say it's interesting. Like you said, it was very nice. I think, like in the later years, that's why they kind of introduced the character of Kevin Redner as well, another young footballer, to kind of try and bring a little bit more of that into it. Yeah,
that's right. You just needed an edge, a little bit more edge, but it was popular. So who am I to say? I mean, crikey. I mean, it went on and on, didn't it? And had a good artist. Gil himself wrote it, and I think it went into one of the nationals, didn't it? Did Playmaker go? Did Barry?
I don't know.
I'm not sure about that. I mean, as you say, I know it went into Royal Rovers, so as far as I'm aware, that's all I'm aware of that story. Yeah, no, Barry then did Scorer in the Mirror, but Scorer. Scorer. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm mixing up my characters.
I'm just going to say, David, don't worry. A story that you never took to, it's broken my heart. But Barry did the same to me when he said the same about the Marx Brothers. I'm still trying to get over that at the moment.
Well, you had your heroes.
Yeah, we had enough of them. Yeah.
I mean, I once did something amiss about a character of Crazy Keller in Battle. Wrote somewhere I shouldn't have done it, but it wasn't very nasty. I never took to the story, didn't take the character. And Alan Hebden, the scriptwriter, he bashed me next time I saw him. So you don't realise.
Be careful what you say.
What they mean to these big guys, they created them, So.
Especially the creators, exactly.
Yeah.
So moving on, because I'm conscious, don't want to keep you too long. So Hot Shot, merged into Roy the Rovers, but you ended up being the editor of Roy the Rovers, didn't you, for the last few years? And that was after I think Barry had taken the team away from and gone kind of freelance, I think, from IPC. And there's lots of political shenanigans.
Creative editorial services.
Right.
Barry formed that, obviously, because we were asked to produce the titles from home.
Yeah.
And I took Hot Shot home with me, as it were. But I only took Hot Shot home with me on the premise that because they'd taken me off Eagle, to do Hot Shot football story, which I enjoyed again, obviously football. And I said to Barry, well, okay, but if Hot Shot doesn't survive, I want to do Eagle still. And he said, okay, that's fine. And he kept his promise, in as much that when Hot Shot unfortunately didn't make the grade, as it were, I went back onto Eagle.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, what's his name? Gil. Gil turns up on my front door one day and said they want a new direction for Roy. So he said, would you be prepared to come back in-house to be the editor on the new title? Well, not new title, but on a new format, if you like.
Yeah.
They wanted a much more sort of newspaper style,
more features, was it?
More features, much more feature oriented. This John Davidge was now the Supremo there. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he was. And again, I really couldn't refuse. I mean, it was such an accolade to be
iconic title.
Character I started on 1951. I'm back on Roy again, sort of thing. And again, Barry, I felt sorry for Barry, but it was always going to happen. If I didn't take the title in,
someone else
would have done it. You know what I mean? But they wanted it back in house, and Roy and Barry was very gracious on that one, because I mean he did all the PR for the new look title, which he played Roy the Rovers, I think, in the distance sort of thing. On the mic. It was all very good fun, but Barry, typically again, stars aplenty. I mean, Barry could just conjure up these guys, or they're all heroes of mine.
Yeah, the incredible address book,
didn't they? Paul Gascoigne,
Yeah. Wow, amazing.
Anyway, and I enjoyed doing it for a while, but the circulation and whether they didn't like the trend of it. My one of my big problems with Roy himself as a character was that Barry had been very, very sort of how can I put it, creative in as much that he'd given Roy a home life, 2 kids, a wife. I mean, it was incredible, really. I mean, and all of a sudden, Rocky, he's 18, 19 years of age. On my calculation, that made Roy almost 60 or something. You know what I mean?
No, agreed.
And it was always difficult. I mean, I always get back to Billy's boots on that, because we had a first season on Scorcher where Fred Baker was the script writer, and we'd had a season, let's say, just for a year. And he said, "What we're going to push him into another school?" I said, "No, keep him as he is.
Right.
He doesn't have to grow up.
It's interesting.
He can always be the boy."
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know that's not right, in a sense. It's not technically right.
No,
but Barry had created this real life character, hadn't he?
Yeah, and then he has to age.
Those kids are growing up as well.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
There's the late 50s striker still with the
playing for Melchester.
So that was always a problem with me, not a problem, but we had to.
No, I understand.
Work around it. Yeah,
we had to work around it. So when we went, how long was it? About 3-4 years, was it, or 3-2?
Yeah. I think well, it finished in March '93 as a weekly.
So I went back 90. I think I went on to ish. Sorry, a bit vague. And I just left the ending as that Rocky could take over. The famous sort of. I see the picture, the cover of Roy.
The last issue. Thank
you. And so I left that just that opening that we could sort of maybe have a new Roy. Maybe that was wrong, maybe that was right, because the next guy who took it over, Roy, the character Roy, really suddenly made Roy a dishevelled old man. And it was completely wrong, It just didn't work. But that was nothing to do with me. I do assume.
No, I know. Yeah.
So again, it was all. They were desperate, for obviously, to keep the titles alive, and and comics unfortunately were.
It's the industry was declining anyway.
Exactly. Which is a great shame, because it was a great profession personally for me. Anyway, I enjoyed it. But anyway, I'm not guilty on the fact that I
You didn't
killed
get
her
rid of his
foot.
left foot, did you? You didn't get rid of his left foot. I know, I know.
It's just an injury when I left him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just a
It
minor
wasn't-
helicopter crash.
Yeah.
A
Hadn't been
minor
severed.
helicopter crash.
Hadn't been severed by the time he
Hasn't
came
been
back.
severed.
Yeah. I think, like you said, I think that was always the difficulty and the interesting thing, as you say. I think Barry did an amazing job. But I mean, when we've interviewed what David actually has said to us that years ago, he said to Barry, he said that, David Skew, sorry, friend of the show, as we always like to say when we meet you, what we call stars, you're celebrities in our eyes.
Yeah.
But he said to Barry, you have made this difficult because you've made him a real life character.
Yeah, thank you, David.
And that's and that is the thing. And as you say, I must admit, as a reader, right, but you turn a blind eye. But it always kind of made me smile, sort of at the end of the weekly, that Blackie Gray kind of hadn't disappeared, but he was no longer really playing. He wasn't in the team, and so but Roy's still up front,
He's still there,
banging in the goals.
And then you got Spando Valley,
the
cup final.
Yeah.
But that was Barry again because he loved that.
Yeah, the showbiz.
He could bring these characters in, and they love Roy.
Yeah,
Because Roy, these
and it's good publicity, wasn't it? Barry was always around for free publicity.
He was a master. He really was. I don't think he realised how good he was. Truthfully, I don't. But I'd say to him, "How the hell did you get that mob together?" You know what I mean? And he did it.
Yeah. Can I ask just one question? I don't know. Again, sorry to press you on your memory, but I think this would have been in your time, because it's always struck me as a reader, and I really did enjoy this story, but it was a bit of a departure from many of the others. And of course, we've brought it up because obviously we are United, which, as you know, is from the DC Thompson world. But there was a story in the Roy of the Rovers, which I think would have been in your time, called United. But what separated, again, this was Ian Rimmer and Barry Mitchell, but what separated this story is that the featured team actually played real life teams each week. So I just wondered if you had any recollection of that or not, but judging by your reaction, obviously not.
This was in the weekly, was it?
This was in the weekly comic.
Well, I must have that. Yeah.
It's fine if you don't remember.
No,
Dave. I mean, if you don't remember, you don't remember. It's not an issue.
We did a sort of science fiction, Roy, as I remember.
Yeah, no, definitely. That was an interesting one.
That was a weird
Future
story.
Ball. Yeah,
Future Ball.
Well, do you know what I remember? Do you remember the movie? I've forgotten the name. James somebody. God, but there was a film called Rollerball.
Oh, right.
And it very kind of, I made me think of that, Future Ball. But what was interesting, the character, somebody man, I think it was, but he watched these videos and it was very clever, because if you think about the modern day world, you were predicting AI back then.
Yeah, really. Exactly.
He had these like videos and he could actually speak to Roy.
Yeah.
And get tips from Roy Race on obviously the new football world. Yeah, it was an interesting story, actually.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was Roy, and to go back to 58, the creation of him, I wasn't quite there at that time, but it wasn't long after, and then all the way back to 93, you say?
Yeah.
It was a long time, wasn't it?
It was a long time.
Barry more than me, maybe. Obviously, Barry definitely more than me, because he nurtured. I mean, his idea to create a separate title away from Tiger was a brilliant idea, because Roy was very, very successful. Roy, from its inception in 78, 77, whenever it was.
Well, 76, But then you can see that Fleetway IPC had learned, I guess, a lot from Scorcher, which you had for 4 years. They knew it would sell. They knew it would sell, but Barry has always said that. But he knew a football story or comic would be successful. But if you got Roy in there as well, then it was almost a guaranteed.
Clever.
Success.
Barry was very good at that sort of thing, But Roy was a very successful title, not least a character. It was a good title as well, because it just generated football, didn't it? It just and it was good. Yeah.
Well, it's still synonymous now. I think I was watching Sky Sports last week, and I think Jamie Redknapp said, "Oh, it's like a Roy of the Rovers character." You talk about some footballer, it still comes up in everyday parlance now, doesn't it?
Yeah, quite. It's a good point. Good point. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to say, never make any apologies for anything that you don't remember. I can hardly remember the start of this damn podcast, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, that was about 3 hours ago. So
Yeah.
They're on the
Um,
third hole, Matt. They're on the
yeah,
third
yeah,
hole.
yeah. Sorry,
Right,
yeah, sorry,
yeah,
David.
yeah.
Yeah, moving
No,
on. Anyway, so then anyway, kind of let's in all seriousness, it's kind of wrap it up. So since then, obviously you retired now. Um, what's life like for you now, David? What have you been doing
Well,
since
it was
then?
quite because immediately after. I mean, I did a thing called Zig and Zag with, and I worked on
Oh,
I worked on what was it for Warner Brothers, oh,
Looney Tunes.
Looney Tunes thing. I did work there, but that was quite good. That
wow.
was all syndicated stuff, wasn't it?
yeah,
But it was
yeah.
good. Yeah, all you were doing there really was just selecting already published stuff in America.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, that was quite good. But then it went really full circle with me. With going back to Peter Stewart all them many years before, because he'd left Shoot magazine. He'd been maybe done as people were being maybe done at the time,
Yeah.
and he was then the editor of West Ham United football program.
Ah, right.
And he asked me to sort of go along and help him. Oh, I loved that, didn't I? I mean, there I
Oh,
was
wow.
talking to my heroes at West Ham, not all of them, but most of them. And there I am sort of talking to Harry Redknapp and,
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
and so that was a couple of years of real enjoyment for me. I thoroughly enjoyed that and writing up the copy and getting it out each week. I mean, that was another thing. You get people like Harry sort of saying, we need to get an opening piece for the program. Oh, not you again. Well, Harry, it's another game.
You are the manager.
And then when he put words into his mouth because he wouldn't give you any copy, I'll do what you like.
Yeah,
He'd get annoyed if it wasn't right, sort of.
Yeah.
I didn't say that
I
about.
didn't say that. I think there was a time when we lost 6-1 to Man United up at Old Trafford, obviously, and he wouldn't give us in copy because we had a midweek game. He wasn't nasty, but
No. It's busy. Yeah.
And we put in the copy. So well, it was a sound defeat. We have to take it all the cliche on the chin, all that rubbish. Oh, he got so annoyed.
Did he?
He didn't give us any copy. And we were
David, did you not realise 5 of those goals should have been ruled out for offside?
Exactly. But it was interesting, that they have that attitude, don't they? That you're trying to produce a publication, aren't you? So that was fun. I did Match of the Day annual. I did a Roy the Rose annual. I think one time.
2000. I think
was
possibly
it?
would that been yeah.
That was good. I enjoyed that. And then, but my sort of swan song really was a guy I'd worked with at one of the policemen at West Ham. I'd worked with him really because he'd helped me in the manager room, the program room, to sort of like the money safe and all that sort of thing. Because quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
And he got me a job at the local police station, which was. I know it sounds silly, but it was one of as a CJU working with on the statements from the villains, as it were. And I
really
enjoyed that.
That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Yeah.
My God, that was a boozy time.
Eye opener. Oh, boozy time was it?
It really was, but it was good. It was good. That really was my sort of finale.
Yeah.
But then again, from retirement, again with guys like yourself and Skilling and other. I'm always sort of. I did a piece for 13th Floor, coming back to that for Rebellion.
Yeah.
I mean, little things that would just keep your mind interested, and then a business which, thankfully, you guys still, give me sort of pleasure from, as it were. So I'm grateful to you people, really, truthfully. Without being too heavy, but
no, well, yeah.
Thank you. I mean, we're obviously goes without saying, but we'll say shortly, I'm sure, when we do our final words from everybody, how thankful we are to you and everything you created. So look, David, I think we've kept you long enough. It's been a whistle-stop tour throughout your fantastic, incredible career. We're just going to go. I'll just go around the guys and just kind of get some final thoughts and final words on them, and then we'll get some final words from yourselves before we kind of say our goodbyes. So right, so Neil, I'll come out to you, Bygone Berrigan, in front of. Is that a Scorcher special behind you
It
on
is,
the
yeah, it's
screen?
a
I
Yeah,
summer
it
think
is.
it
Yeah,
is.
special.
that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Especially for today's episode.
Yes. So Neil,
I
your
thought I'd have
thoughts on.
to. No, it's been wonderful listening to your life story, your career, David. And I feel like we're only scraping the surface, because you're involved in so many other magazines, and I'm sure the lads will agree. Would love to have you back to discuss further. But no, thank you very much for letting us in, and hopefully we've not been too geekish for
No,
you with some of our
no, quite
questions and our
the
memories.
no. You certainly haven't been geekish
All
previously.
right, we'll
But
try
thank
next
Give
you,
me,
time.
thank you.
give,
Yeah,
give me
exactly.
time.
Until the
We
next
can be worse than
episode.
this.
Go. Final few words from you.
Well, I mean, I'm just over the moon. I loved Gary Lineker's hot shot, and to be able to ask you the questions, David, that I did, just amazing. It's just an honour to be able to chat to you, and I'm so thankful for you coming on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul.
Well, do you know what we joked about Mr. Trevelyan? We asked him one question, and David, you kept on apologising and said you were rambling, but none of us felt you were rambling. It was fantastic to listen, and thanks so much for your insight. And as Neil said, I feel that we've still only scraped, and we'd love to have you back and chat more with you. And I hope that's it. As we've said, for us, it's brilliant to, genuinely, you guys are our heroes. That's what all those comics are behind. We pour over them. Our only regrets is that they're still not being published and we've got new content, but we're forever thankful for the stuff that you produced over the years, and to get to meet you and hear. And honestly, David, I ought to say, your face lit up so many times, massive smile when you're the recollections, and we just loved every second, and it's great, and can see the pleasure that you got from those times as well. So yeah,
Thank you.
lovely.
He doesn't half go on, doesn't he?
Me.
No, he's talking about me this time.
That's why it's called tangent, because he goes off in
Exactly.
tangents.
Tangent, yeah.
Okay, David, some final thoughts from yourself.
Well, again, as you just said, I mean, it's pleasurable for me to relive and recall memories from the past, and mainly good ones. Always enjoy them. Steve McManus said to me once, he was on Battle, I Still See, as I told you, you must write a book sometime about because once you're gone, it's gone, isn't it? I don't know if you've read his book, The Nerve
I've
Center.
got his book. I've started reading it. Yes, really good. Yeah,
it's very good. Yeah, Steve, he worked long and hard on it, and I'll tell you. I did meet. I don't know if you would know him. It was Jerry Finley Day. No, but he might be a good subject for you, but it wouldn't be more football. It'd be more adventure. Anyway, but he's another character who loves the business, and like yourself. Right. And thank you for your interest and pleasure you get from it, really, because it's really heartening as far as I'm concerned. To me that was just a nice general chat, and I enjoyed it immensely. Thank you.
Yeah,
brilliant. Well, that's exactly what we want it to be. Just a nice gentle chat with you, and it's been heartening having you on the show. And I'll say you probably are my favourite West Ham fan now. So,
yeah, because there's so much competition for that title.
I've got a very, very good Millwall friend. And we agree to disagree about football, but he's still a good friend.
Good stuff. Well, thank you very much. Cheers, David.
Thank you very much.
Okay, right. So we're back. That was the interview with David Hunt. That was brilliant. So I'm just going to get the guys' thoughts on that, and then we'll kind of wrap up the show and look ahead to the next one. So tangential one. I'll come out to you first. What are your thoughts?
Brilliant. As I said, just listening to him talk, and his face lit up so many times. It was a pleasure. And we always say this, privilege to some of the people we've had on. And what I love is that he just turns into a chat, just listening to their stories. And yeah, it was brilliant. And I think we mentioned it. Hopefully we will get David back on, because I feel that there's so much more to talk to him about, like there has been with others, obviously Barry, David Skew, Pete Nash as well. And be great to have him back on. a really great podcast, this one.
Yeah, no, cheers. Thanks, Paul. Bygone, your thoughts after that?
As I've already said, I really enjoyed it, especially listening to how he started out, and then became an editor at such a young age.
Yeah,
And
really young,
then all the
25. It's crazy.
relationships he built up with other artists and writers,
Yeah.
and I think obviously it's the jobs like that don't exist anymore, do they? And even when he was talking about such a small team they had on these publications, and
Yeah.
just getting an issue out, how much effort it took for them four or five people to get an issue out within the week. It was really interesting.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. And then you
It
realize
was.
like the writers and the artists never met, but they had
Yes.
the same idea
That
probably, and
hits home.
it was just
Yeah,
fantastic listening to things like that. Yeah, but
yeah.
really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed
Goal?
Well, I'm going to turn it around a little bit and not talk about how I felt about it because I've sort of already touched on it within the episode. But you know, I think that the listeners are really going to enjoy this one, listening about his career, and we do hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, it's just so great to have the life story, really, of someone that's one of our heroes. Come on, so yeah, loved it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's good. I mean, what stands out for me is how many times did he say, "Oh yeah, nice guy, top guy," stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I kind of think we've been so lucky as well, as you say, interviewing all the
Mm.
people we have done. Every single one of them, without fail,
Yeah.
has been such a nice
Mm.
person. Just really humble. Um, but such a great guy to get on with, really. So it's fascinating hearing all stories. And yeah, as you said, Paul, it'd be great to get him back on, hear some more of those stories as well. And some of the
Mm.
stories he probably doesn't even remember, but we'll
No,
ask him
no,
anyway.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Indeed. No, do you know something like you just said as well? What I love is I think it's kind of common knowledge, isn't it? They say if you can make your hobby your work, you'll never work a day in your life. And I think you feel that with all of these guys that we've interviewed. Their genuinely love for the industry and what they've produced. And yeah, I just, I'm immensely jealous of all of them, but also grateful, so grateful.
Well, I mean, it's incredible what he's saying with the Subbuteo, playing the Subbuteo in the
Yeah,
50s, and he was
that was
creating his own
fantastic.
mini
Yeah,
comics
yeah,
at that age, and that's the sort of
mm,
thing which I know a
mm,
few of
yeah.
you guys with your fan fiction and stuff like that
Been
do.
there,
So,
done it.
he was doing it
Mm,
50, 60,
mm.
trying to do my math, 70 years ago.
Yeah, you go. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just great.
Mm,
Look, that's the show, everybody. We know it's
mm.
quite a long one. I hope you enjoyed it. And maybe you can pause and watch some of it, listen to some of it later on, that kind of thing. But I'm sure you appreciated hearing so much from David. That's it from episode 115. We'll be back soon on episode 116. That's how these things usually work. Okay, thanks a lot, everybody. Cheers. Bye bye.